Okay, so this next recipe is vanilla apricots.
Ooh.
So basically, there's a little bit of a story behind this
Okay.
recipe. So years ago, when I was working in one of the pastry departments in one of the hotels here, we would do this recipe where we take dried apricots. We would add a sugar syrup to it. You could add white wine to it if you wanted to. And then what we would do with it is we would serve the apricots over things like ice cream, or we would serve it just as a little something with your coffee at the end of a meal, something like that. And they were very popular and incredibly delicious. So this is a little bit of a modern take on that particular experience. So what I have here is I have a pot of sugar, and in the pot I've got roughly 3 cups of sugar. I have 1.5 cups of water, 3 cups of dried apricots, a fresh lemon, which I'm going to zest. And the recipe does call for actual vanilla bean, but I do want to talk a little bit about that.
Sure. Well, let's get started on the sauce, and then let's tell us about the vanilla bean. And I know you were mentioning also about the apricots, so let's just discuss too what are our different options for the apricots, if you will, please.
Okay, so here's the 3 cups of sugar and the 1.5 cups of water. So we're going to get that going. And what you want to do is you want to bring it to a simmer. Now, while that is going, you want to zest your lemon. So I've got a little handy dandy zester here and a fresh lemon. You could add a little bit more lemon zest to it if you want. The recipe does call for 3 strips of lemon. I'm going to just give it a little bit more because I think lemon is such a beautiful flavor.
Oh, I do too.
And then it calls for 1 vanilla bean. So the vanilla bean itself, you can buy at any grocery store, usually in the spice aisle, or you can buy it at a store that specializes in bulk ingredients. Thing is, though, is that vanilla bean can be a bit expensive.
Absolutely.
So you can also use vanilla extract if you don't want to get the vanilla bean. What I have here is the actual vanilla bean itself. So it looks very similar to ground coffee, but it's a lot finer. And you can buy this at any specialty food store. It does tend to have a lot more flavor because it is ultimately the real thing. That's what I had on hand, so that's why I'm using it.
And did you use then the whole bean and chop it up?
Yes, so when you do use the whole bean, what you want to do is you want to cut the bean in half. So you're literally splitting it in half. And then you're taking the exposed part of the bean and you're scraping that with the back of your knife, and then you're putting the bean and the seeds actually into the pot. Now the apricots are a really good idea to help keep costs down because dried fruit usually tends to be a little bit more on the expensive side. So what you can do is the recipe calls for 3 cups of dried apricots. Now you can get a few gifts out of this, but it's also an expensive recipe. So my suggestion to help keep the cost down is go to your canned fruit section in the grocery store and look for cans of canned apricots. They're usually about $1.50 a can. You want to get yourself a couple of cans, open them up when you get them home, drain them to get rid of the juice, and then pat them dry. And then you only have to use half the amount of the dried apricots. So that will keep your costs down.
For sure. And then you could probably add that juice as part of your water mixture as well, right? So then you're not wasting, you're not draining that down the sink or whatever. You could use that as part of your liquid.
Exactly.
Fair enough.
So, so we're bringing our 3 cups of our sugar, our water, our lemon zest, and our vanilla bean. We're going to bring this to basically what they're calling is a simmer. Once it comes to a simmer, we're going to then add this mixture to our apricots. And then what you do is you give it a good stir, and then you just let it sit and let it cool down. And then from there, you can then package it how you want. So as you'll see here in front, we have a really beautiful jar with the apricots that I've done ahead of time. And again, to help keep costs down, You could even try eliminating the dried apricots and just using the canned apricots if you want. Although I'm not sure how that will work, but you can give it a shot because, I mean, why not experiment?
Right. Probably the texture, right,
Yeah.
would be the only thing that it might change that up from just having the sweet and then the soft texture as well as that little bit of a crunchy texture. But
Exactly.
you know what? Sometimes we also just have to do what we got to do to spread our dollars around. So I can't wait to see how you're going to make this all happen.
You know, and so what I have in the pot, like I do have the sugar and the water, and in the industry, we call this sugar syrup.
Okay.
Okay. Sugar syrup is used for all sorts of things in a pastry kitchen.
Okay.
What this does is it provides the liquid. So if you were going to use wine in this recipe, you would eliminate some of the water.
Okay.
Okay. You could also probably play around with a little bit of, you could add a little less sugar. It depends on the type of wine you use, because if you're using a wine that has a bit more sweetness to it, you probably want to reduce your sugar.
Right. Fair enough.
So what the sugar and the water do is it creates a syrup. Okay. And when you add that over your apricots, what happens is it coats all the apricots and it sits in this beautiful liquid mixture. And the longer you leave it, the more flavor it will have.
Okay.
So, you know, if you want, you can make this, 3 weeks ahead of time before you actually need to give it as a gift.
Right. And then so the simple syrup is also going to just seal in the flavor of the apricots as well, right? It's going to surround it. So that sounds just lovely. And so would you recommend at that point, if you are not putting it in a fancy jar to give, maybe you would use it when it's hot, you would pack that in a sealer jar if you're planning to not give it for a month or two, or how long do you feel that would be okay in the refrigerator?
Yeah, so it could last up to about 6 months in the refrigerator if you are packaging it properly. So putting it in a really nice airtight container.
Okay.
I would not leave it out on the counter for months on end by any stretch. I would leave it in the refrigerator.
Okay.
But you could make this, well into September if you want to give it as a gift in December.
Perfect.
So my liquid has come to a boil. So what I'm going to do, just for simplicity, I'm going to add my apricots to the sugar syrup mixture. Be very careful when you add, because you don't want any splash up into your face, because it is hot sugar after all.
Absolutely. Oh, you can just smell all of those beautiful aromas. Well, that looks just divine.
So then what you would do is just remove it from the heat, let it cool, and then you package it according to what you need, whether you're going to put it in the refrigerator for a later use or you're going to package it into your jars. The choice is up to you.
That's perfect. And you are going to leave the pieces of vanilla bean in there.
Yes.
Thus the apricot vanilla recipe. So that is just perfect. Well, it smells divine. And I can't think of anyone that's not going to think that this is one beautiful gift. So thank you so much for sharing this gift.
Oh, you're welcome.
It's beautiful.